Hello and welcome. Now, after facing flack over his refusal to hold Russia accountable in public for meddling with the 2016 U.S. elections, U.S. President Donald Trump claims that he, in fact, misspoke during the joint news conference in Helsinki.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server. In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russia. So, just to repeat it, I said the word would instead of wouldn't.
Now, Trump had invited worldwide criticism when he contradicted his own intelligence agencies concerning the issue of Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. President Trump had said that he saw no reason why it would be Russia. But Trump can't seem to make up his mind on Russia. Despite criticism, Donald Trump took to Twitter and said, "So many people as the higher ends of intelligence loved my press conference performance in Helsinki. Putin and I discussed many important subjects at our earlier meeting. We got along well, which truly bothered many haters who wanted to see a boxing match. Big results will come." He went on to say, and again I quote, "While the NATO meeting in Brussels was an acknowledged triumph, with billions of dollars more being put up by member countries at a faster pace, the meeting with Russia may prove to be in the long run an even greater success. Many positive things will come out of that meeting." Now, Trump did not stop at that, slamming his political rivals. Trump tweeted, and again I quote, "Some people hate the fact that I got along well with President Putin of Russia. They would rather go to war than see this. It's called Trump derangement syndrome." Meanwhile, Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the lower house of U.S. legislature, said that he is willing to consider additional sanctions on Russia. Ryan reiterated support for the U.S. intelligence community's findings that Russia interfered in the 2016 elections. Calling it a menacing government, Ryan said that Russia does not share either the interests or values of the United States. All right, Jessica King joins me live from Moscow. Good evening, Jessica. How's the Russian media reacting to all of this? Are they at all secretly chuckling at the fact that this was a media coup of sorts for the Russian government and the media alike?
Well, it really is quite an extraordinary turn of events. I mean, just over 24 hours ago, the Russian government and Russian people were feeling quite confident that President Trump was on their side, or at least understood and was sympathetic to the Russian position. They have always denied meddling in the U.S. elections. Then, of course, we have the backtrack from Trump saying that he misspoke, and now saying that, he expects great things to come from this meeting. So all very confusing. Of course, there have been a lot of memes going around on social media, sort of slightly mocking the U.S. president and whether or not he said this or he said that. And the Russian ambassador to the U.S., Anatoly Antonov in Moscow, has said today that they want some evidence. If they keep going back and forth on deciding whether or not they believe that Russia did, in fact, meddle in their elections in 2016, they want evidence. And they have described the allegations again as total nonsense today. So he said that it's his impression that some U.S. journalists just don't want to listen to their president, and he believes that the president is trying to uphold national interests. But certainly a big win for Russia. I mean, standing side by side on the international stage in front of the world's eyes, President Trump said what he said, and whether or not it was a slip of the tongue or he misspoke, it does seem like a sort of pretty weak response. And President Putin certainly seemed like the stronger leader, the one who had it together, who was in control of that summit. So it certainly feels like a win for Russia. The fact that the summit even took place in the first instance was a win for Russia because of all of the recent indictments and arrests over this alleged meddling. So certainly it puts power into the hands of Putin and makes him seem like the real statesman who's really in control of what he's doing, unlike President Trump.
Indeed, and Jessica, going through some of President Trump's most recent tweets, he says big results will come from his meeting with Putin, and that his meeting with Russia may prove to be in the long run an even greater success than the NATO summit in Brussels. And also Russia has agreed to help with North Korea. So how is the Russian government reacting to all of these tweets? Have they at all reacted so far?
Well, again, we've heard from the Russian ambassador to the US, who actually said he thinks it's going to be very difficult for Trump to comply with some of the agreements that were reached at the summit. I think all of this toing and froing and, of course, the extremely negative reaction we've had from Washington is certainly going to put a lot of pressure on these two leaders. And the summit in Helsinki was sort of billed as the first meeting, a chance for them to build up relationships, a new start, and they kind of implied there'll be more meetings to come, but it seems very difficult to see how that is going to happen now. I think President Putin and President Trump have always had quite a controversial relationship, and even during his campaign, President Trump always sort of praised President Putin and saying that he had great control over his country. He's also sort of aligned himself a little bit in that way and made similar comments about Mr. Kim Jong-un when he had that historic summit with him in June as well. So he clearly likes to align himself with President Putin in his sort of style and substance, and the way that he has this sort of macho, strong way of leading the country. He seems to really like that, and he certainly seems to like the fact that they do get on well in comparison to his predecessor, to Barack Obama. So he likes to sort of peddle the fact that he's got a better relationship with Russia than his predecessor. He likes this strong macho style of leadership, and he wants this to be a relationship that works. But I think given everything that's happened over the last 24, 48 hours, it's going to be very difficult to see if maybe their relationship does get a bit stronger, but how this is going to play out in the sort of bilateral ties between Russia and the US is difficult to say.
Absolutely. On that note, Jessica King in Moscow, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. In their first public appearance after being rescued, the Thai boys and their coach narrated their ordeal. The world held its breath for 18 days while the mission to extract the wild boar team from the flooded Thwam Lang cave was underway. Addressing the media, the Thai boys said that all of them knew how to swim and expected the water levels to come down. The boys said that they were hungry and lost, but their coach helped keep their spirits up. The wild boar team was taken by surprise when it saw that British divers had come to rescue them instead of a Thai diver. The boys were afraid that parents would scold them for going inside the cave. The boys, who were rescued by the time the Football Cup final happened, said that they were rooting for France. In an emotional moment, the boys paid homage to the Thai Navy SEAL who died while rescuing them. Now, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has apologized for calling British diver Vern Unsworth a pedophile. Replying to a Twitter post, Musk said that his words were spoken in a fit of anger. Musk's apology comes after he faced widespread criticism and was even asked by some Tesla investors to take back his words. Tesla's shares suffered a 3% drop after Musk launched his attack on the diver. The British diver Vern Unsworth, who was a part of the rescue team that helped in pulling out 12 boys and their football coach from a flooded cave in Thailand, had dismissed Elon Musk's offer of a miniature submarine, calling it a PR stunt. Unsworth had said that Musk's submarine had no chance of being used in the operation, as the SpaceX CEO had no idea what the cave passage was like. The Indian Supreme Court has said that a woman's right to pray is equal to that of a man as enshrined in the Constitution, and forming a law cannot negate that. The Apex Court was hearing a batch of petitions challenging the ban on entry of women in Kerala's Sabarimala temple on grounds of biological factors. Chief Justice Deepak Mishra said that if the temple has allowed men to enter, then it must allow women to enter too, adding that there is no concept of a private temple. Justice Mishra also opposed the Kerala government's assertion that ceremonial rules pertaining to temples and method of worship are set by the temple and are protected under the right to worship, saying that a temple cannot claim denominational rights. All right, joining me for more on this story is my colleague Jessica Taneja, live from New Delhi. Jessica, Talk us through this import of this court observation on the Sabarimala temple and the entry of women into the sanctum sanctorum of the temple.
Well, Ramesh, the issue is as old as 2006 when the first petition was filed in the Apex Court. It's taken the court to notice this issue more than a decade now. And now that it has come to light, it's creating a sort of disruption of sorts when the Apex Court has been observing. You've heard all the 5 judges in the Constitution bench outrightly say that women have the same rights as men. Just because they're menstruating, you cannot take away the factor of equality. So that is an interesting observation that is coming in from the Apex Court on this particular issue. Now, women who are menstruating are not allowed to enter this temple. Now, this issue has been highly talked about and also gone from courts to courts, but this is the final time the Apex Court will finally dispose of the matter. And from the observation, at least, it looks like that the Apex Court will be, giving a judgment in favour of the petitioners, because the way observations have come in, even from Justice Chandrachud, who said that women either in workforce or entering temples, how does it matter? Equality has to come in all forms.
Indeed, and very quickly, Jessica, how quickly can we expect the court to deliver a judgment on this issue and allow women to enter the Sabarimala temple in Kerala?
Well, Ramesh, there is no set timeline as to when this judgment will be delivered, but soon before October at least, because right now we're waiting for the final judgment on Aadhaar as well as Section 377. This was the 3rd Constitution bench hearing. In fact, one of the most important ones, and senior lawyer Indra Jaising has been leading this, battle in the Apex Court ever since. So we can expect this judgment at least before October, but there is no set timeline as to when will the court deliver the judgment. But from the observations today, is what we've noticed is the court has been condemning this and saying that how can women not be allowed to enter a temple, and where men can, just because they're menstruating, how can you take away the factor of equality, as I was just pointing out? And this seems to be the dominant opinion in the courts at least.
Right, on that note, Jessica Taneja in New Delhi, thank you so much for your update. Now, at least 4 people were killed when a 6-story building under construction fell on a residential tower in Shahberi village of Greater Noida on the outskirts of India's capital, Delhi. It happened yesterday night. More than a dozen people are feared trapped under the debris of the collapsed buildings. 4 teams of India's National Disaster Response Force and a contingent of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, a paramilitary force, are involved in the rescue operations. The buildings collapsed around 9 p.m. local time on Tuesday. Some locals allege that the rescue teams arrived late. Right, in news just coming in, a 5th body has been recovered from the debris of those collapsed buildings. So these are the visuals from last night when the buildings collapsed, and now scenes of the rescue workers tending to the possible survivors who might be trapped under the debris of those collapsed buildings. Now, Noida resident and India's Federal Tourism Minister Mahesh Sharma visited this spot to review the rescue operation. Meanwhile, 3 people have been arrested in connection with the incident.
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी पल पल की जानकारी ले रहे हैं, उन्होंने आगाह कर दिया है जांच के लिए, तो मैं समझ रहा हूं हम सब लोग मिलकर पहले चरण के अंदर हम मदद पहुंचाएं घायलों को, उसके बाद जांच का विषय.
Team immediately responded and they came here. They searched all the locations. Till morning, they have retrieved 3 dead bodies, and now we are searching further with our searching equipments, and we are trying to lift the upper layers of the roofs so that we can search all the areas.
How long it will take for the entire rescue mission before you call it off?
We can't say because we are on the job. The cranes are also working, so we will have to clear all the rubble there, and let's see how much long it takes.
Well, scenes of massive devastation after this under construction building fell down, killing many people. Well, 3 bodies have been recovered, and the district administration and NDRF is present here to make sure that the area is cleaned. If I can ask my camera person to pan out, he can show the extent of devastation caused in the area. You can see trucks here trying to get the rubbles out, but the focus now is to make sure that the entire area is cleaned up. A lot of people present here. My camera person can pan and show the lot of people who are present here, the onlookers, a lot of onlookers present here, but a lot of media presence also. The focus now is to make sure that the area is cleaned and made sure that people can move in this village, because this is a village area and it's very difficult to come here. But right now a lot of people present here because this is a big story and a lot of people have been feared dead, but it also exposes the dark underbelly of under construction building which have cropped up across the suburbs of Delhi, and this under construction building was constructed in an area which is village area. Many really don't know whether it was legal or illegal, but right now a probe has been announced by the government, by the Uttar Pradesh government, and focus right now is to clean this area. With video journalist Bala Siddhant Sibal for WION in Greater Noida.
Now, desperate times call for desperate measures. The cricketer turned politician Imran Khan is known to be a jihadi sympathizer. Now faced with a rather close contest, he is taking the help of terrorists in the Pakistan elections. The US designated terror group Harkatul Mujahideen has openly come out in support of Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party. Maulana Fazlur Rahman Khalil, the founder of Harkatul Mujahideen, who has links to Al-Qaeda, has announced support for Imran Khan in the elections. On the face of it, it's because Imran Khan has promised to create an Islamic welfare state. But this backing is crucial at a time when Imran Khan is locked in a close contest with Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party in the Punjab province and the Pakistan People's Party of Bilawal Bhutto Zardari in the Sindh province. Earlier, a PTI candidate, Asad Umar, had announced on social media that Fazlur Rahman Khalil has joined Imran Khan's party, but he retracted it later, clarifying that the terrorist has decided only to support the party and will not be joining it. The US government had placed Khalil on a list of specially designated global terrorists in the year 2014. All right, joining me from Karachi is Shahzeb Jilani, a former BBC editor working in London and a correspondent in Pakistan now. Shahzeb, 1 week to go for the elections. Who do you reckon is ahead or close to winning the election? Is it the Pakistani army or Imran Khan or both?
I think the answer lies in your question. If you assume that Imran Khan is being backed by the army, given the atmosphere we are going to have these elections, it looks pretty convincing that a way has been paved for him to gain majority. This has been done by switching loyalties of Nawaz Sharif's party. I have traveled in Balochistan, in Punjab province. People I have met have repeatedly told me that these elections are tainted, that candidates were forced. Army and ISI officials were using threats of corruption cases against people. So we've seen a lot of independent candidates, a lot of candidates of main political parties switching sides in the last few months. You look at the media coverage, and it's disproportionately in favor of Imran Khan. So yeah, I mean, it looks like that he has a clear backing from the powers that be, and he looks pretty confident. Some would say overconfident.
Indeed, and Shahzeb, this election, the parliamentary and the provincial election, will be remembered for the so-called mainstreaming of terrorists and terror groups. Also, as you mentioned, the media clampdown and the intimidation of some candidates, with some of members of the PPP and the PMLN saying that they were threatened not to contest or to switch sides and join the PTI of Imran Khan. Now, in your reckoning, how do you see the political fortunes of the two principal parties, PMLN and the PPP, in these elections at the federal level, at the provincial level as well?
Well, Nawaz Sharif's party still has sizable support in Punjab province. They will take a lot of seats. I think I don't want to speculate whether they will take more seats than Imran Khan's party or not. When we talk about Sindh, which is the second biggest province, People's Party has been in power in the province for 10 years, and they are confident that they will gain majority, even though there are a lot of anti-PPP smaller parties who have banded together in a coalition. They also are being supported by Imran Khan's party. There is allegedly backing from the military establishment to those parties. So it looks like both Zardari's party and Sharif's party are at the receiving end in this election. And so are some other nationalist parties in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, who have repeatedly called for the supremacy of constitution and parliament. They want civilian supremacy in the country, and they have taken that stance in the parliament over the last few years. All these parties are at the receiving end in this election.
Right. On that note, Shahzeb Jilani in Karachi, thank you so much for joining me on WION Dispatch. Appreciate it.